Welcome to MRE Uncut, where we'll give you real and practical insights into the real estate scene in Melbourne. We'll discuss what's happening in the industry, all backed by MRE's history of over 30 years in the game. With that said, let's jump into this week's episode of MRE Uncut.
Welcome to another episode of the MRE Podcast. My name's Stephen Fitzsimon. I'm here today with Peter Hooymans.
Hello, everyone.
And Memphis Middleton.
Hi, everyone.
Today's topic is what makes the perfect investment property. And we're going to be talking specifically about the inner Melbourne apartment market today. Whilst everybody's got all sorts of different ideas, that's where our major focus is. So we feel that we'll be able to give you some pretty handy insights on what's hot at the moment in that type of space.
Noting it is our opinion.
Yes.
Because we're not financial advisors.
No, I'm not a financial advisor.
So it's our opinion based on, in our last podcast, we're talking to 12,000 people a week.
Yeah.
So I reckon that's a pretty good sample.
Yeah, well, that's why we call our team livability experts, because they speak to 12,000 people who tell them about what they want to do and where they want to live. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Right.
So we'll start off with...
What about suburbs?
I think suburbs is a good spot.
What's hot? What's hot now?
Furnished in Melbourne is hot anywhere, especially
Why?
with one
So
beds.
5 plus years ago, you couldn't give a furnished one away, or maybe that's a bit extreme. They were definitely harder to rent. Why is that?
Who's renting
in your
them?
opinion? Why has furnished become the thing?
Accessibility, easy, everything's all included. Overseas market is booming as well. Influx of visas being approved, everything like that.
Yeah. So they want something that's just lock and leave, ready to go.
Yeah.
And it had its bad time. Like, you know, we forget that it was getting busier up to COVID, and then when COVID hit, it was a disaster. People were throwing out the furniture in their furnished apartments because the market for them went home.
Yeah.
And now they've come back. So there was a scarcity of furnished apartments because everyone had thrown out the furniture, and they were renting them as a unfurnished piece of stock. But now the demand is like it's never been before.
So for a one bedder, let's say 50 square metre one bedder, what's the difference between unfurnished and furnished? Just obviously that they all vary.
It does.
But just, I don't know, ballpark.
Dependent on furniture, it can almost add about 100 to 150 extra on top of that value per week. Again, depending on.
So when you say type of furniture, you're saying Italian made versus IKEA type of deal? Or?
No, not at all. So the way we look at it is that we see some examples where people have tried to set it up with IKEA furniture and the cheapest of the IKEA furniture.
Yeah.
We're talking about those beds that are made out of like metal. You know, they're horrible.
Like the ones on school camp.
Yeah, exactly those ones. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right, and
So a medium level of furnishing makes a difference.
Yeah.
Don't have to go over you don't have to go over the top.
And for our clients, we actually refer them to a furniture crowd, and they
Who's
will Mork, we call them, MORC, and we've told them what we want in a furnished apartment because again, a lot of people get that wrong, and they fill it with knives and forks.
I'm just trying to remember
old
the guy,
books.
the contact there.
Keith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, so they install all the furniture within 7 to 14 days as well with inventory provided. And obviously the photos that they provide us as well with how we furnish properties helps our clients so much as well. I've noticed it limits the questions of, what should I have in the property and things like that, which also makes it much easier for us.
Yeah.
But we've
How much, like, curious, what sort of cost?
had 10 grand.
Yeah.
Minimum, yeah.
So for 10, you're getting a good deal.
Yeah.
And like, what about for an 80 square metre two better, say?
12, 13. It's really only an extra bedroom.
So it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
And so you're getting that back in the first 2 years then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the bit that I say to people, like, where can you invest 13 grand and get your 13 grand back in 2 years, be able to claim depreciation on the 13 grand because that's gone down as well, and then it's all profit.
Yep.
So it's pretty attractive at the moment in terms of furnished.
So that's the furnished bit.
Yep.
So furnished is in, and sorry, Memphis, you were saying, because I cut over you there, I stopped you in your tracks when we started talking about furniture.
Mm-hmm.
So furnished is going off, and then we're going to, what about suburbs?
Suburbs going off. Oh, I'm finding most suburbs to be hot everywhere at the moment, considering, we're in the peak season of real estate. I'm not finding anywhere really suffering.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're suffering. I'd look at inner north is super hot.
True.
Fitzroy, Collingwood, that's
Fitzroy's always
that's
going
alarming.
off, yeah.
Richmond is really accelerating.
South Yarra.
And there's nothing coming on in Richmond.
No,
Very limited stock.
no.
10 years ago,
It's so-
7 years ago, buildings, apartments, galore, nothing.
Yeah, even post-COVID, a $500 apartment is now $600. So it's gone like that, and it's jumping further. Like every single one, if you've got one in a building, you're putting the next one up by another $25, and then 3 weeks later you've got another one you put up by another $25.
Yeah.
It's really skyrocketing in a way that we haven't seen before at the moment for those inner suburbs. Yeah, and they're super popular. Like if you're an Aussie and you want to live close to where the action is, it's Richmond. It's South
Okay,
Yarra.
so I'm a landlord. I'm managing a couple with MRE. I want to buy another one. What am I buying? I'll give you a budget.
Yeah.
500 to 750.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, okay. So then the component there is what are you looking for in it? Because if you want super yield, then I'd be buying something for 500 in the city and furnishing it.
Furnishing
Yeah.
it 100%. Yeah.
Because you could get a 2-bed, 1-bath, no car for 500, and you'd probably be able to rent it if it was furnished for close to 800.
Yeah.
So 500,000. What would that apartment have been sold for off the plan?
600?
Yeah, right. So they're still selling at less than the original.
Yeah, significantly.
And then, do you feel like the yields, given that we've got the stock supply issue, that the yields will push the prices up at some point?
I think it's already started.
Yeah.
For sale, 100%.
So I think if you've got an apartment like that, I think you're going to see fantastic windfalls from not only rental yield, which is really racing along,
Going crazy.
but I think now you're going to see that drag up the capital value of those properties.
Yep.
So I think they're going to be the most popular for
Sought after.
hardcore
Okay,
investors.
so yield, city, furnished. What about growth? What about a combo? Combo
Yeah.
would be nice. I mean, growth and yield is the real combo that you want.
Yeah, well, that's right. And
That's
I
what
think,
I would want as an investor.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody I think's hunting for. I think you need to step out of the city because I think that the place where locals want to live, and when I say locals, it's important to note that international investors can't buy second-hand properties in Melbourne. So the demand for the inner city stock is largely investors. So you lose a lot of the owner-occupiers because living in the city is not
as sought
perceived by
after for
locals as
Melburnians,
for Melburnians.
God, no.
But if you take that step out and you go to your Fitzroy, Collingwood, Richmond, South Yarra
Footscray.
locations, then you're starting to see a spot which will likely have the characteristics that a local person's after. So you might get a car park, which is pretty essential for a Melburnian.
Especially, yeah.
You might get a decent sized balcony, which is, again, pretty essential for a Melburnian.
A bit of a view over city
Yeah.
views.
You might get a bit of size because the stuff in the city, you could be talking about a 50 square metre, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment.
Yeah.
If you come out, it might be a 50 or a 55 square metre, 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. So you're getting the size that the local wants. And it's the local who's going to be buying it from you when you want to sell it. So you're starting to see capital demand.
Okay, so if I'm an investor and I
Where
want
do we
yield
go?
and growth, what am I buying and where am I buying it?
If it was me, I'd be hunting in...
Sorry.
See, Steve's good at this. He always tells us where.
No, I'd be
No,
looking...
actually, what do you think, Memphis?
Yeah.
Maybe a suburb that I say is probably already grown, but I'm noticing a lot of properties in the western suburbs are booming, especially Footscray and things like that. The demand around there is quite big, and it's just getting more overpopulated around there as well.
Yeah, right.
Who knows if those suburbs will ever really grow that much?
They've run pretty hard.
Yeah.
The really smart developers were in Footscray 10 years ago. and they've reaped the rewards.
I think, and they've sold them for that premium price, and now you can buy on the second-hand market at a discounted price, and then the second-hand investor is able to reap the rewards.
You Memphis, you tend to list, from what I see, quite a few more upmarket properties. You know, let's say 800 a week, 1,000 a week, in some cases 1,500 a week, and you're sitting with those investors or property owners. What are they? What's their profile? What are they? You know, who are they, and what's their
they're
thinking?
all different. They're all different. Another one, I've just listed one just in the CBD in South Bank at Riverside Quay as well. My client, she's out of suburbs. It's just a weekender kind of thing a lot of the time. Her family utilise it a lot, and that's a high end one as well at $1,500 per week too, furnished. My client, they're all around.
Yeah,
they're all rounded.
And has that rented yet at that price?
No, just gone online today.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
Just gone online
give you at
today.
least a couple of days. Yeah. No, that's. I'm just curious because I you know, if you're getting into the heads of the
what
the
makes them
rental
buy around
owners,
here. Yeah.
you know, that's a bit of a way to find out what's also good. Are you also the more high end properties you're listing? Are you finding they've had those properties for some time?
For some time, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them have lived in them before as well too, I've noticed. Yeah. And then this one was online as an Airbnb short stay kind of thing, and just realised that she wanted to get out of that because she wanted to reap the rental,
Can I ask
long-term
a
rental.
question then? Because that's interesting. Why? So Airbnb, obviously you're getting the per night rate, but then Airbnb now I think takes something like 20% or like an extraordinary
higher,
commission, and then you've got to have clean. You know, there's the cleaning
You've
thing.
got to pay the cleaning costs and
So
ensure that the
what
cleaning's
was
being
her
done.
reason from switching?
Her reasoning was...
Sorry, for switching.
Yeah, her reasoning was that she was just fearful of the lack of bookings.
Right.
Yeah, so a lot of the time the property was sitting vacant.
How much was it a night on Airbnb?
Oh, I didn't really ask her that. Yeah. I
Because she'd
didn't
be
really
competing with hotels, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Like 5-star hotels.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely was in the higher range. At that 1,500 price point, she was very happy with it. Wasn't really wanting to seek much more.
Okay.
So I think it was somewhere around that. I don't know. I never asked.
Well, you'd have to.
Doesn't matter.
If she's
I
happy
was
with
just
1,500,
curious.
she probably wasn't making 1,500
No.
prior.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
so
it wasn't getting
75K a
booked.
year rent,
Net.
you know, versus Airbnb, but dealing with the ebbs and flows of the bookings.
Yeah, and also just the back and forth from her with the agent she was with, or the short stay accom. They really weren't that responsive to her and things like
Right.
that as well. So I
So that made her experience was poor.
Yeah.
In that, that didn't help.
No.
Are we seeing any movement from investors that were Airbnb back to long term?
It's a little bit. It's a little bit, but it also comes in ebbs and flows. Like right now, you don't see so much of that because it's peak season for visitors in Melbourne. You know, we've got Tay-Tay.
So they're full.
We've got the
Tay-Tay
Oz
started
Open.
today.
Tay-Tay.
Tay-Tay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Peter.
all the Swifties
We
today.
got, well,
Yeah.
you know, we got Pink next week.
Well, there you go.
We do.
Yeah. Red the week after that. No, not red. But we're like, and then it goes into the start of footy season, and then it quietens down for the Airbnb market. So watching that, we'll probably pick more up later in the year. I think there's more hotels opening on a fairly regular basis too.
Yeah.
I was down in Normanby Street in South Bank, and there was 2 practically new hotels opposite each other that have opened up fairly recently. Wow. So there's certainly been a lot of hotels under development. So that'll be putting a dent in it. And
so we're and you know for this episode we're really talking about for our opinion on what makes a good investment, and we're excluding houses. It's just for everyone that is listening.
Yeah.
We're excluding freestanding homes. Let's say that might be in Hawthorn or Malvern, or only because
Point Cook,
they're
could
a
be anywhere.
different segment of the market to what we traditionally work in. There's also a completely different cost base. Obviously, I think the growth is better, but
Growth is better for the owner,
there's
yeah.
all of the drama we've got around the new compliance
Legislation changes
which
made
has
that harder.
made some of those old homes really difficult to rent.
and enjoy
or really
your land
difficult.
tax.
So really difficult to stand up. Plus the land tax issue. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's made it a bit more annoying for owners.
Yeah, no, I had a couple of properties that I looked at recently that I thought were an interesting prospect. They were larger 2-bedroom apartments, a bit like the ones in Palmer Street that we sold a few years ago, where you're talking about 100 square metre, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom properties. And they're in an interesting space because I think there's going to be a lot of people living in that size apartment in the future, but the developers didn't really build that type of apartment until the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Prior to that, everything was sort of 75 square metres built for investors, and they're not overly comfortable to live in as you get older, and you sort of want a bit more comfort and a bit more space. So I think that the capital value on those will continue to increase, and I think that the rental yields, whilst they weren't amazingly strong originally compared to the purchase prices, I think that the demand for that product is quite high.
So just to recap, we've got furnished is great. Furnished in the city is extra great.
In the north suburbs, we're going off.
Western suburbs, we won't name the name. We had what I would term a sophisticated investor. Let's just talk about the higher end for a moment. Sophisticated investor yesterday who brought 3 properties over to us. All of them, I'm pretty sure, are $1,000 a week.
Yep.
Give us 10, 15 seconds on each of those properties.
So we've got a renovated 3-bed, 2-bath Richmond house.
Double fronter, I think.
Single fronter.
Single fronter,
Yep.
300 square metres of land.
Yes. Oh, no, I think a bit more than that.
What's
It's
the
quite
rent?
deep. 1,100.
What will we rent it for?
A little bit more than that. I think
Yeah.
another $100 a week is
$1,200
it's owed, or $1,250. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I sold that property to that guy for $300,000.
Yeah.
And
he's
it's worth
doing
today.
all right.
What's it worth? 2.5.
Wow.
Yeah,
So that's been a good investment.
yeah, it's been solid, but
Yeah.
you know, and so that's the quirks. But he renovated that. He would have put probably 600 into it, I'd
Yeah.
say, in the renovation.
Yeah.
So he's
I
got
don't
that
feel
in.
sorry for him.
No. But you know, that's
Okay, so that's number one. Number
Yeah.
2 is
one in Burnley. It's a single fronter, 2-bed, 1-bath, 1 car.
Yeah.
Rock solid though, and it's
right on the park there.
correct. Yeah,
Barclay, what is the park
Have
there?
to be getting at least 1,000.
Parkville or something like that.
Yeah.
So
It's Burnley, but it's really as good as Richmond. To be
Oh yeah,
honest.
it's the same. The tenants aren't.
What's that renting
concerned.
for?
That I think currently is about 800.
A week.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to say that's worth 1.8, and I know he bought that for about 500.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so
And then
That's good growth again.
yeah,
then there's one that was more recently purchased in Fitzroy North, and that again right on a park. So they're following some pretty basic investor
how big was
guidelines.
that? How big's that?
The block of land
Yeah.
is about 280 square metres.
Yeah.
But it's double story.
Yeah.
And it's a Victorian terrace. So
Rent?
$1,250.
Is that on? We've taken it from another agent.
Yeah.
So is that on market or is that a bit under?
A little bit unders, yeah.
Yeah.
Little bit unders. I think it could have been promoted a little bit better when
So
it
there's
was.
3 good high-end examples.
Yeah.
You know, because we've spoken about the
apartments.
5 to 700.
Yeah.
And if you're in that higher zone,
I think you've got to have
you just got to have the cash flow realistically to carry it.
That's
because the yield, the yield's pretty, 1,000 a week on something worth $2 million. The yield's not as good, but the growth's there.
Yes. Yeah. So you're playing around with the different plans for it.
Yeah.
It's not everybody that can afford 3 houses like that though. So you
No, I just wanted to sort of give an
catering
example
for the different ones.
of something that's live
Yeah.
and recent that I kind of went, okay, that's what, and I've actually tracked a couple of those for 20 years now. And so to watch them
Grow like that. Yeah.
it's
pretty incredible.
And I think that first one we spoke about originally rented for
how much originally? Would have been
wasn't
quite
much.
low. Yeah.
It was at $400 a week, I think.
Yeah.
So now we're at $1,200 rent, and it's worked out nicely.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else on the investor thing? I think that's a pretty good little wrap up, isn't it?
Yeah. if they've got an idea about something that, like we always say this to our clients, if they've got an idea about a property that they're looking to buy,
Please
they can
send it
always
forward.
just reach out to us.
Yeah.
Flick us the link
Easy as
and let us have a look at it. And we'll review it and sort of say, I think it's going to get $850 a week, or just be careful because it may not meet minimum standards now because of this or this. You might need to invest a little bit on
So
this.
we'll end on this last little idea. If I was an investor at the moment, I'd be looking for something that was under rented. I wouldn't ring you because you don't pick up. I'd ring Memphis Middleton at MRE and I'd say, Memphis, I've got a property I'm looking at.
I call back.
I'm thinking of buying it.
always
It's
calls back.
$550 a week. And Memphis would go, you know what? You can get $720.
Oh, of course.
And
Memphis would
then,
be
and
nice,
then
too.
that is what I'd be aiming for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
and that's the conversations we're
And
having.
I would suggest that a ton of properties currently for sale in the investment are under rented.
Oh, there's no doubt.
So there's heaps
No
of
doubt about
opportunity.
it.
If you want to grow a property portfolio, now would be a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you take advantage of those inner city ones, you've got low land values.
Yep.
So you're avoiding the land tax where possible. So I think
Awesome.
there's legs there.
Thank you, everyone.
That's
Thank
a wrap.
you.
Yeah, good. See you later.
See ya.